What's going on YouTube? Florida Man Knives here with a direct comparison with the Reeve large Sebenza and the Spyderco Slysz Bowie. Now before I get started, I did want to note that I actually have not carried the Reeve Sebenza, so this is not going to be a super conclusive comparison as far as how they carry and how they are used on a day-to-day basis. But there are a few points that I wanted to make as to why I actually like the Slysz Bowie over the Reeve Sebenza, and really why the Slysz Bowie has kept the Sebenza out of my pocket. So starting off, of course, they're both very similar. You have titanium frame locks on both of them. They definitely are both very expensive knives, at least by my standards. Of course, everything is relative. You can buy a knife for $5,000 if you really wanted to, but you're talking $450 for the large Sebenza in the plain Jane variant with the single thumb stud, and you're talking $400 for this Knifejoy exclusive Slysz Bowie. Of course, this does feature Boulder M390 steel on this Knifejoy exclusive variant. The OG models did have CTS HP, and then you are going to be featuring S45VN on the Sebenza. As far as the direct steel comparisons go, I really haven't used S45VN to be able to say it's worse or better than M390, but based on the metallurgy and what I've read, I still think M390 is a little bit of a superior steel, but definitely will be way more difficult to sharpen. And as I stated, titanium frame locks on both, but the number one biggest difference is going to be where they're made. The Reeve Sebenza is, of course, made in Idaho in the United States of America, as opposed to a Taichung, Taiwan factory Spyderco right here. So if that's important to you, then you might never buy the Spyderco. You might be only purchasing paramilitary tubes from Spyderco if you're interested in that brand. But, of course, Reeve is renowned for being a really high quality American-made manufacturer of folding knives. So, fixed blades, knives in general, but you know what I mean. Now, as I stated in the beginning of the video, I do much prefer the Slysz Bowie, to the large Sebenza, and the Slysz Bowie is the main reason I have not carried my large Sebenza. And there's going to be a few big points to that. Size-wise, they're very comparable. I'm not going to be bringing out the tape measure or going over the exact specs. If you are curious, you can watch my unboxing videos on each of these, but you can see the cutting edge is pretty comparable. The Sebenza is definitely a little bit longer, and it's just longer overall in general. You can see the handle is longer, and of course the actual usable handle length is longer. That's definitely my biggest complaint on the Slysz Bowie, is that it has this curve in the handle, which, while comfortable, really constrains your grip. I do have extra large hands, so wish the handle on this was a little bit better. Ergonomically, honestly, the Sebenza is definitely my preference. I really haven't held them side by side like this. The Slysz Bowie is fantastic. It does have contoured titanium scales. I did not mention that, as opposed to just the regular flat titanium scales on the Sebenza. But yeah, ergonomically, I definitely prefer the large Sebenza. But ergonomics don't really matter when it comes to these knives for me, because I really just do not like how the Sebenza opens. Something about the geometry of the motion of it, that number one, combined with the thumb stud. Not a fan of thumb studs in general, but especially not this one. And then the third reason I don't like opening this knife is, when I go back to open it, it generally will hit my finger. Sometimes it'll pinch it in. I definitely feel the friction though, and that definitely prevents me from flicking this knife open. And as I stated in my video on the Sebenza and the reasons I'm selling it, actually, I definitely fidget with my knives, so take that into account here. That definitely is not a factor for everyone, and is kind of a ridiculous factor when it comes to knives. I mean, these are tools at the end of the day, but still, it plays a role in my opinion. And again, just this doesn't feel natural, opening and closing the knife. When I go to use a knife, I want it to be readily available or accessible, and also something that's quick and easy to use. I love just pulling the knife out, opening it, cutting it, closing it quickly, and I'm done. As opposed to the Sebenza, you open it and it just takes a little bit longer. Again, just doesn't feel as natural for me, and that is really the real reason why I don't carry it as opposed to the Slysz Bowie. Yeah, I fidget with my knives, but I love the Spyderco hole, the Spidey hole here, and you know, I just will forever love that cutout. I'm so used to it. I also think this is just a lot more of a natural motion for whatever reason. Perhaps I would feel differently if they had a larger thumb slit on this particular knife. And, you know, of course, the Sebenza, you know, when you do get them broken in, they can be very smooth depending on the variant. Mine out of the box is not smooth as opposed to the Slysz Bowie, which is extremely smooth. So that definitely plays a factor as well. You know, I already discussed ergonomics, but price point too, you know, $50 more for this knife. You know, in my opinion, I would say that's worth it just for the fact that it's made in America. You know, quality wise, I think honestly, it's about the same, to be frank. I think this is the best that you're gonna get from Spyderco right here, since they don't make the Paisan or Nirvana. You can see the crowned edge on the spine of this blade, just like on the Sebenza. And again, you do have contour titanium scales actually on this particular variant. You know, you do have a G10 backspacer, which might be a big negative to some people. And it comes with a wire pocket clip, which you can see I have replaced for a Lynch clip. I would never be buying an aftermarket clip for these, the Sebenza that is, you know, because it's gonna cost $75, but I have zero complaints about the stock clip, and I do like the blue accents for sure as well. No backspacer, of course. You do have that blue standoff pillar there, but there we go. Was going to open it and it pinched my finger. So I don't know, just for whatever reason, when I go to open the knife, you know, it's probably because I have so many other knives that you know, my hands are probably used to muscle memory wise, including the Slysz Bowie now, and that doesn't happen with those knives. So, you know, that's really the biggest reason. I just don't like opening and closing this knife. The angle feels weird to me. You know, I'm so used to swiping up kind of too, perhaps, as opposed to more out sideways. I don't really know how to explain it the best, other than it just does not feel as natural. So there you have it. That's going to be the primary wait, one more thing, a little bit scrambled here. May as well do a quick weight comparison. I won't be doing the actual measurements of the knives, but you can see just for reference 4.23 ounces on the Slysz Bowie, and the Sebenza is a little bit larger of a knife and is going to weigh a little bit more at 4.66 ounces. So wanted to include that in the video. My apologies for not doing that sooner. I'm sure there are a lot of people that did not make it this far into the video. If you did, definitely let me know in the comments below. And I would really love to hear what you have to say about your opinion on both of these knives, if you have had the chance to handle both of them. As always, I would love to hear what you have to state in the comments in general, and I really appreciate you watching. Thanks.